Um, so the truth is that there's nothing, and purpose, meaning, this is all mind-created phenomena. So one could say, only to make a point, that the man who goes unrealized has wasted his life. Sorry, life. But from my understanding, even wasting is just a concept, just like living a noble life isn't truth either. So my question is, what am I not understanding about devotion?
Well, the wasting is not a concept. Wasting means that something has been missed, something that is otherworldly, something that one was meant to attain, something that is transformative and permanent. So that's what waste means. It is not a concept. And as for the things that you mentioned prior to that, those need not be imbibed. Those need not be viewed as rules or principles. If one comes to see them through their own eyes, then they do. If they don't, if it is not in one's experience, then they're just words that you're trying to follow. Therefore, they have no relevance at all.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. Thank you so much for taking my question. So in noticing recurring patterns of emotions and thoughts throughout my life that arise over and over, and after evaluating them and trying to understand where they come from, I find myself feeling frustration and turmoil, that the same feelings, both of enjoyment and of frustration, continue to arise from the same sources and the same circumstances. And I think that turmoil comes from feeling that perhaps what I'm doing isn't working. I wonder if that means that I just haven't understood the foundations of what's truly causing it, or if I'm missing some other truth.
I think perhaps the most fundamental thing that any human being can do is to break their addiction to prescriptions. Because until that happens, the turmoil will be the natural order of the day. And the breaking of one's habit and the breaking of one's attachment to prescriptions cannot be done forcefully. One must see through it. And so when you wonder whether you're doing things properly or not, those all come from a prescriptive place. If you are following the right prescription, if you're doing the right activity, if you were thinking about it the right way, all of these things are circular. They don't go anywhere. So the greatest thing that one can possibly do is to understand the damage and futility of prescriptions.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I feel that my question was answered earlier when you said that the doom is chasing good feelings, but I will ask it anyway. So my question was, there are days where I'm very ambitious, very focused, and I feel like I'm like in a flow state and I'm able to like do my work really well. Then there are these other days when I don't feel that way at all. I'm just chasing, like I'll just watch like YouTube videos or Netflix or something. So I like myself better when I am ambitious and focused and driven. So how?
You're not going to. You're not going to. You're not going to. And I can tell you to do 12 jumping jacks and do a somersault and practice meditation, do mindfulness, and it'll help you. And next year and 10 years from now, you'll be the exact same way. You're not going to. It's not going to happen because you're chasing it.
Good evening, Dr. Gupta. My question is, how do you stop chasing after things?
You don't stop anything.
Is how I'm handling the current reality situation toward my vision, toward achieving my vision, the truth?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
My question is, if is how I'm handling current reality situations. So everything which comes outside of the world to me, everything which is in my mind right now, and how I am handling this current reality situation toward achieving my vision, that's my truth.
No, because you can't handle anything. How you handle it is just a physical thing. It's just a mental processing of it. Handling is cosmetic. Truth is the genuine longing for truth.
Hi, Kapil.
Hello?
My question is, how do you know when something is truth? Is it just crystal clear? How do you know?
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's a feeling.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I asked a question earlier about
Did you ask a question
when
earlier?
yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I have to.
I
Yeah,
asked a question.
I have to. I have to move on because I have a lot of people waiting.
Hello, Kapil.
Hello?
Is it possible to have left society temporarily and find your own version of the truth, but then realize you need to continue playing the games of society in order to sustain yourself?
Yeah, you don't need to leave society. You don't need to leave society. You don't. It's not a. That isn't a requirement. Um, it's all about seeing through the game. It isn't about living anywhere.
Hey there, thanks for doing this. Appreciate your
Mhm.
work. My question is just to understand more about like Saint Francis of Assisi like influenced your thinking basically.
No, it didn't influence my thinking.
You do quote him as one of the folks that have found truth in one of your books, right?
Yes, it didn't
So,
influence my thinking
so what makes it an identifiable characteristic?
because he spoke truth. The same way that Jesus did, the same way that Buddha did. He spoke truth. He found the divine.
Great, thank you.
Hi there. Does grace have a role to play? And if so, how would you define it? Thank you.
It's a good question. It's probably the only good question I've gotten for someone who doesn't follow me. So it's good to hear that. I think there definitely is a bridge which comes near the end, which cannot be crossed by the human alone. That there is absolutely a hand of the divine, which takes one across the final mountain pass, so to speak. Uh, Once a human being has exhausted all that they themselves can do, but the exhausting of what one can do isn't a physical doing. It is the expenditure of all one's sincerity. And when there is a deservedness in the eyes of a divine, then there is absolutely an element of grace.
Hi, Kapil.
Hello?
My question is, how do you personally get closer to the truth? What do you do that helps
I
you
don't
get
do
closer?
anything. It's 24/7. It's 24/7 devotion to truth.
Hey, Kapil.
Well,
Hi. I've started to understand the concept of self, and it's been very insightful to see how everything I have been, has been a result of just societal conditioning. In this process, I found myself developing a new self-image, and that's one of an individual who speaks the truth and seeks the truth. My question is there a point where I'll find myself not having a self-image? And is that possible?
it will depend upon the desire to seek truth, and if the desire for self-image, how strong that remains.
I'm wondering, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, Natasha, but I'm wondering, like, there will be days where I will make music for like an hour, and it will feel great, and even sometimes like I'll move myself to tears for whatever reason. And the next day, and this is kind of a long-standing pattern, like I just feel like I won't be working on music as much as I should be, and it causes a lot of stress to the point where I just won't work on music at all. But if I just let go of that stress and accept only working on it for like an hour a day or less, sometimes it feels good. But I'm wondering if I'm really,
So your problem is that you're too interested in the good feelings. That's your chase, and that's what's causing your doom.
Hello, Dr. Gupta.
Hello?
My question was basically this global pandemic that is currently happening. Is this in any way like a lesson or some type of like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is it related to helping humanity find the truth in any way?
Humanity will never find the truth. I mean, you could have 10 pandemics a year.
Okay.
Humanity will never find the truth because humans are not wired that way. Humans are pleasure seekers. They're social. They have turned into social animals, even though they're not fundamentally. Um, so the fact that the pandemic is going on, one could very accurately state, what else do you expect? There's going to be nothing but destitution on this earth because human beings are fraudulent creatures. They're greedy,
Right.
they're competitive, they're violent. And the reason that that happens is because they live through the state of their mind. And because the mind is obviously in an unrealized state, then all that can happen is, quote, negativity. All that can happen is pestilence. I mean, even if no pandemic went on, the problem is that no one, you see, it's like a battered child. When a child lives in a home in which he's beaten every single day, then he believes that all kids are beaten, and that becomes normal for him because he doesn't know any different. If a person grows up in a war zone where, missiles are being and guns are going off, then that person gets used to that. If you look at the society, and even without the pandemic, if you just look at society, no one sees the pandemics that are going on absent coronavirus. Even before coronavirus hit, what do you see human beings doing all day long? They're going to bars. They're going to clubs. They're socializing and having empty chatter, and they're chit-chatting about nonsensical, idiotic things. They spend their time gossiping. They go to places like school, in which they're bullied, and they're taught. School just teaches you about Facebook and Twitter and social media. That's all school teaches you about. It's everything. Everything is a pandemic. So this was just another example, which happened to be more dramatic. But every human being is lost because this society isn't a society of humans. It's a society of animals. This is not real society. So I think truth lies in seeing the pandemic beneath the pandemic. Truth lies in seeing, and more accurately, truth lies in seeing the pandemic within one's own self, and how, and regardless of how society is, how oneself has gone completely astray and has fallen for all of the conditionings of society.
Right. So basically, would you agree that this pandemic is in a way helping us to look within and seeing our flaws or seeing what's wrong with humanity as a whole?
Well, it sounds like a leading question, but
Okay.
if that happens, it'll be gone as soon as the pandemic's gone. So these are all temporary things. When the fire comes, everyone will get together to put the fire out. And when the fire's out, everyone will go back to the bar.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for
Hello.
inviting me. My question is, in pursuit of one's sort of raw truth, how can one learn to recognize whether the several paths of exploration that they're going through are sort of a reflection of their own DNA, the way you put it, they're a reflection of their, one's DNA, or if it is due to an external societal stimulus. Thank you.
Yeah, if you are drawn to external societal stimuli, you will never be walking the path of truth. And if that external stimuli continue to draw you and are interesting to you, and you have an affinity for them, then there's a very good possibility that you don't have the DNA to seek the truth, which isn't a bad thing. It just is what it is.
Hello, Kapil.
Hello.
Thanks for taking my question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I recently heard you in one of the podcasts with Naval. You mentioned that it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. I wanted to know what happens or what one is supposed to do once they reach that destination.
I don't know what that means. What do you mean? I don't even think that you know what you're asking. So if your destination is the grocery store, what do you do when you get to the grocery store? If your destination is the top of a mountain and you're a mountain climber, what do you do when you get to the top of the mountain? Like, human beings are so addicted to asking, what do you do? I don't even think that you know what you're asking. What do you mean? What do you do when you get to where you want to go?
I think it ties into the purpose of life, like what should my objective or purpose be?
And that's exactly my point. There's no such thing. Purpose doesn't exist, but you don't have to imbibe that. There's no such thing as purpose. There's no meaning to anything.
I agree.
One has to find out, one has to discover where they are compelled to go. Not because there's meaning, but because they're born with certain longings for whatever reason.
Hi, Kapil.
Hello?
Yeah, so the general notion with money is the more the better. So, like, how does one come to the conclusion that, yes, that we have enough money right now?
You cannot, there is no such thing as how does one come to the conclusion. How does one come to the conclusion that they don't like broccoli anymore, that they should like spinach?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
My question is, sometimes I see that people are basically trapped by their ego. Sometimes I feel I should tell them. Then again, I feel there is a moment come, then he will realize. So that is the situation. Sometimes I feel, what should I do?
Why does it have to do anything with the other person? What do you care?
Maybe I see he's a human and he's being suffered. So I should tell them or let the
You're
time come.
you're you're suffering you're suffering double as much as him by having
Maybe.
your own ego and wanting him not to have one.
Hello.
Hello?
Oh, sorry if my English is not
No, it's fine.
perfect. I saw you. I heard you saying like there's no meaning like for life. There's no purpose, and I would like to
But you don't have
ask
to
you
believe that. You don't have to believe that.
what? Sorry.
You don't have to believe that.
Yes, if I do believe that
Uh-huh.
I'm not here because I have a purpose.
Uh-huh.
What if and I kind of do believe that. I agree with you. But what if I have the feeling that I have something bigger coming for me? I have this continuous like force pushing me forward to like work harder, be something bigger. But how can that be if I know that my life doesn't have a established purpose?
Because you don't have to attach meaning to it. If something is within you pulling you toward a certain direction, and that's natural and organic within you, pulling you in that direction, then it is. But you don't have to attach a significance or a meaning to that. That's just
I don't have,
intellectual,
yeah, I don't have to
right?
process it.
No, you don't have to attach anything to it. If you are hungry, you don't have to call hunger a purpose. You don't have to say, I was put on this earth to eat because that's my purpose. If you're hungry, you're
Yeah,
hungry, right? So you don't have to make it into something bigger than it actually is. In
yeah.
fact, trying to make it bigger only makes it smaller.
And harder, and it hurts because you try to
Yeah,
process it, and
right.
it
That's right.
becomes harder.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Kapil.
Hello.
So I'd say I was at one point very attached to certain objectives, and I saw impediments to those objectives in the world. And my view was that there is attachment among all people that prevents society from emerging. So I recognize what you mentioned of we don't have a society. My view is that with the end of the distortion of money, with the infinite printing of money, with the fixed supply of Bitcoin, that society can once again emerge. Do you think that that may happen?
I have no idea what you mean by society emerging. All I can tell you is any thoughts related to society or the world are simply an aversion, and they're a convenient excuse not to look at yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
So, man, I don't know where to begin, but I'll just keep it short. So I think with much of what you say about freedom from the mind, freedom from the self, I really think that I'm at the I don't want to say point because that could also be metaphoric, but I would just say like a stage in life where I really feel free, I really feel alive, and I don't have any attachment to anything. But I feel like living this way has kind of been making me separated and lonely, which is okay. I'm fine with it, but people need to cling to something. They want to have a consensus. They want to attach to something to have a good time. But I'm already having a good, and I think I'm like having a good time, but other people think that, I'm some
So
kind of
what's your question?
crazy. So my question is it possible to find the people that are free, or when you're free,
No,
you
nobody's
really?
free. No, as long as you're looking for other people to think a certain way or to feel a certain way or to behave a certain way or approve of you or not approve of you or agree with you or want to coincide with you, any talk of other people will only lead you astray. It is false.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Hi. I don't really have a question. I just want to say thank you for being there. Like, you were the last key that I needed to find the truth. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi. This
Hello.
question isn't about me, but a curiosity that I had about you and how you think about things. What's something important that you find important that you've changed your mind about recently?
I gotta be honest. Whenever I get a question from someone who doesn't follow me, and this is going to come out the wrong way, and if it does, it does. I don't really care if you follow me or not. But whenever I get a question from someone who doesn't follow me, it's this superficial cosmetic question, which, what's your favorite color type question. And, I almost feel like shutting this room off to people who actually have come having read my work, because otherwise it's a waste of time. Not that they should read my work. Nobody should read it. There's no compulsion to read it. It isn't good for you. Don't read it. But those who, for whatever reason, do, I wish there was a way to invite only those people, because these questions of your favorite color and what's the latest memory you've had, and they're natural questions because they don't know what they're getting into. They don't know the room that they're entering into. They don't understand this domain, and nor should they. But I don't. Those are not the questions that I have any interest in answering.
Hi, doctor.
Hello.
So, the last time I was here, you talked about the importance of absence of thought. I want to develop a strong work ethic. I want to develop more sincerity in my life pursuits. Can you give any advice?
No. If you really want to develop sincerity, then you will. There's no how-to for sincerity. Either you're sincere or you're not, and if you're not, there's a recognition that you're not. That's about as far as you can get. That's the only hope you have.
Hi there.
Hello?
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mhm.
My question was, it was based on an observation that a lot of the discussion in this group and on your website and so forth is around the way you think and interpret the world. I was wondering if you had a view on like the physical, and I don't mean the physical in terms of the mind. I mean like the breath, the body, and the journey that the breath or the body, sort of more specifically, would go on a path to truth. Does it matter? Can they move in divergent ways? So for example, could you be on a journey towards truth, sort of mentally in the way you interpret the world, but then physically be massively out of shape, or what's the connection, or those journeys?
Yeah,
Are
I mean,
they
there's no
separate?
compulsion. There's no compulsion that one has to be proper in any way. There's no rules. There's no coat and tie properness. There's absolutely no rules to anything. So if one is genuinely on the search for truth, that isn't a good thing. They just are. And if they are, they are. And if their hair is blue or black or white, or if it's long or short, it doesn't really matter, because it isn't about self-image. It's about what's inside of you, and what's inside of you isn't good or bad. It's just if what's inside of you is going to take you to transformation or not, and the more sincere it is, the more it will.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Hello.
Hello?
You released a message today. What a man does when no one in the world can see him is what he truly desires. I asked myself, what is true for me? Because that message, I felt something and I wanted to lean into it more. And I realized that if the world was not watching me, my only desire would be for the world to watch me. When I looked at that deeper, I don't desire fame from the masses, so to speak. I desire connection and validation from people I respect. What I noticed from there, though, is it kind of goes back to that preference. And so I feel very afraid of this desire because this desire brings me pain. Even when I do get the connection and validation and I experience the joy from that, the moment I recognize the joy, it switches to this like intense shame. And so I've noticed because of that shame, I retreat and I try to not connect with the world, even though the desire to connect to the world is there. I was just hoping we could talk about that.
Well, I can't really do a discussion, but I can answer the question. The question basically, what you're experiencing is the mind fighting the mind. On the one hand, you have a natural desire for connection and validation, whatever it may be. On the other hand, there is the shame for having that desire. So that is mind fighting mind. That is natural desire fighting a should. And that's where your problem is. And your greatest problem does not lie in the natural desire to want validation. It won't take you anywhere, but it is what it is. Your greatest problem does not arise from that. Your greatest problem arises from the fact that you think that's wrong.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. So thank you for taking my question, and thank you for your time. So when I look at a sunset, my mind is almost instantaneously sort of labels it as good, and so it follows that on a gloomy day, my mind will label it as not beautiful or bad, and so it seems that the mind is it makes these judgments in ever so subtle ways, and it's almost instantaneous. So I was wondering, when you speak of these masters and these rarest of rare, individuals, is it that is it that they're able to recognize, the sunset is just the earth, rotating around its axis, going along its path along, the solar system. But so these true masters, are they just able to recognize, their thoughts as just thoughts, see the genesis of thought and just recognize it as a thought and leave it at that? Or is it that,
Because they recognize who they truly are, they recognize that all that comes from them is only mind, and therefore it's disregarded before it even shows up.
Hi, Kapil. How does one overcome self-censorship?
What does that mean?
The ability to express with virtually unrestrained freedom.
No one's stopping you.
With social dynamics at play, the costs sometimes increase for certain
And that's because
topics.
the social dynamics and the cost mean more to you than the expression. Number one. Number two, expressing yourself itself has no meaning, because what you're essentially expressing is belief and opinion, because that's all really that's inside of you.
Hi, my question is, do you believe we live in a simulation world? If yes, how to prove?
If I believe that we are what?
We live in a simulation world.
That's intellectual. It doesn't affect your life if we are or not, because if I said I believe that, it wouldn't do any good. What's that going to do for you? If I say I don't believe it, what's that going to do for you? Well, the acuteness of your life is still going to be the acuteness of your life. That's just intellectual jargon.
So you said in one of these sessions that all relationships will bring you far more suffering than they do joy, and in kind of like evaluating my own experiences.
Yeah, and if you're evaluating your own experiences, that's fine, but don't ever take what I say. You have to filter it through your own experiences.
I'll just get to my question. So why are feelings of like loneliness so powerful?
Because man only has one thing within him, or at least the unrealized man, and that is ego. And ego longs for attachment.
Hello, Dr. Gupta.
Hello.
I understand that seeking truth in self is more important than seeking falsehood in others. Couple quick questions with relation to that. What is the truth that must be sought? And how does one
there's
know
no, first of all, we'll just ask one. Number one, seeking truth in oneself is not more important. Nothing is more important, because nothing is what you should or shouldn't do. If you are compelled to, then you are, and if you're not, then you're not. There is no truth that must be sought. All of these are different guises and different ways of cloaking and clothing and dressing up the notion of healthiness and properness and correctness and what you should do and what is the right thing to do. It's just another self-help game. And so I would say, if you were to ask me, should someone seek truth? I would say no. Don't do anything. If you have to be told to do it, then it's false. It's a shell game.
So are you a nihilist?
I'm sorry?
Are you a nihilist?
I'm not an anythingist.
What kind of doctor are you?
I don't practice medicine anymore.
What kind of doctor?
Hey, Dr. Gupta, my question is, how does one know if they have found truth or not?
You don't have to know if you found it, but you can know if you're genuinely seeking it or if you're not. And if you're not, it's not a problem.
Yes, can you talk about the chase for happiness coming to an end?
What's the question?
I guess in one of the talks that you did, you spoke about the chase for happiness being the end goal, or not the goal, but just the end.
Well, if you believe in happiness, there's no point in talking about the end of something that you believe in. So I don't know of anyone who doesn't believe in happiness, not even the Buddhist monks, not even the Dalai Lama. He's always talking about happiness. So if you believe in happiness, then the question doesn't really go anywhere to ask how to end the chase for it.
what is coaching?
I don't know. You know, people ask these general questions, and they're non-starters. I have no idea what the context you're talking about. You can't just ask a 3-word question. If you want to ask a question, if you want to dress it up and summarize it and put a bow on it, you can, but I'm not going to answer.
Hello, Kapil.
Hello?
I am a bit nervous. Last time I asked you what is not a concept. I'm still with this question and have been exploring it a bit. When I look at the things that I do or think, I cannot find anything that has no attachment to a concept, nor to a motivation that is also fueled by a concept. It's as if I literally want to find out things that I'm not even interested in at all, like that I've never ever tried at all, and just do it. So, and you know, from attending these sessions, I've restricted myself of not asking for prescription. So so my question is, if I train any part of my body in a way, would it be possible for that skill or that thing to outweigh or become superior to the mind?
No, it wouldn't, unless the thing that you were training was precisely to overcome the mind itself. Number one. Number two, the trouble that you're experiencing right now is that you have fallen for the trap of, you have now made the concept the evil, and you have turned a concept into a rule. Therefore, you're trying to go through all of your thoughts to find out what is not a concept, because the concept in your mind now has become a bad thing, and you want to remove anything that's a bad thing. So I think I would begin there.
There's nothing.
Hi, Siddha. I want to know, how do you know that you're truly motivated for something when you have multiple options? How do you make a choice?
You know, I've done a lot of this podcasts and stuff on choice. It's not, you can't just sum it up in 2 seconds. But you know what, if you look inside, I mean, everyone's always asking questions like, you know, how do I know if I like chocolate or vanilla? You know, everyone has become so prescriptive that they're always looking for a flag or a color in the distance to tell them what they're feeling inside, because they refuse to look inside. So, that's how everyone's been taught. Everyone's been taught, well, if this happens, then that means this. If you see this sign, that means this. And it's almost gotten to the point where you don't know your name anymore, that your name has to be written on a cloud somewhere for you to verify it. You know, science has poisoned everything. This idea of verification through intellectual means is not truth.
Hello, Kapil. I want to ask your thoughts on this situation.
A couple of months ago, I started martial art, and there is a couple of only prescriptions and instructions. My question is, the prescription and the instruction, it's a first step. I mean, I see more experienced
you're asking for permission to use the prescriptions, and there is none. Like there's no you should or you shouldn't. If you find that by doing something that you gain benefit from it, then why would you stop? And if you find that by doing it that you're not gaining benefit from it, then don't. But I will tell you this: the basic level may come with a prescription, but no one becomes a master by way of prescription.
Why have you not committed suicide?
What is this truth about?
What kind of question is that? I don't know what you're asking. What is what truth about?
I'm not sure what this room is about or who you are. I just stumbled upon it, so I'm just wondering what this what
I don't know. But you can go to the Twitter account and from there.
Mashat, whenever I'm being alone while driving, or when I am not in touch with the people, I am able to be in a thoughtless state. But what happens, when I'm starting to interact with people, when I'm with a group of people?
You are chasing a thoughtless state. That's your problem.
Oh.
You cannot chase the thoughtless state.
Okay, Mashat. Thank you.
Can there be objectivity in truth?
There is only objectivity in truth.
Hey, Kapil, thanks so much for doing this. In one of your podcasts with Naval, you talked when addressing problems or think about problems to look directly into the problem and think about what is being said and not just those words. I feel like I somewhat got it, didn't fully get it, and I was wondering, it would be great if you could maybe shed some light on what you meant there exactly. Thank you.
I mean, every human being seeks solutions. And solutions don't really solve anything. They just create new problems. Every company out there, every consultancy, every organization, every institution, every self-help book, every motivational priest, every guru, every business coach, every single human being is providing solutions. But the problem is that the solution never lies in the solution. The solution lies deep inside the problem. But nobody wants to look at the problem. In fact, nobody even knows what the problem is because they're too quick to jump to the solution. Everyone is a trained monkey. They are trained to not touch. Therefore, they don't even look at the heat.
Hey Siddha, what is this noise in the background that you have? Like, what is it supposed to mean?
Hello.
Hello.
So my question is, what is the truth behind being like a high energy person? Is it all like only in the mind, or are there things like nutrition and other things that are also important?
I don't know. That's a very, very general. It's a very general question. Hello?
Hi, I was going to ask, what do you think about the word freedom?
A word is a word.
Hello, doctor. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, why did you stop practicing medicine?
Should I go?
Yes.
Is there anything as good or bad?
No. But every truth is dangerous in the wrong person's hands.
Who is the wrong person?
The one who the one who is not devoted to truth, and who is devoted to only looking at the words instead of looking at the meaning behind the words.
Are people who lack an organic desire for truth bound to suffer? Like the assumption is that they can't, that they don't have this desire, and it's not
Well,
like
what I'm hearing you say, and you can correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but what I'm hearing you really say is that you're possibly offended by the fact that is a preference for those who are seeking truth and everyone else be damned, and you may not be one of them. Therefore, why should you be damned? That you have every right not to seek truth, and it does because you don't, shouldn't mean that you necessarily suffer. Am I right, or is that not right?
No. So I think the root of my question is, like, I'm thinking about how I'm trying to understand what the source is of the longing for truth, essentially, and by asking, are people who don't have the desire bound to suffer? I guess what I was trying to get out was whether everybody has this desire or not.
I think everyone is actually looking for the truth, but they're not. See, everyone is looking for the same thing, but they call it by different names. And the problem by calling it by different names is that the different names that they use has a different edge. Therefore, they begin chasing the thing that will not get them what they truly seek. That's why whatever a human being gets, he's never satisfied, because the thing does not contain satisfaction in itself. So the truth is the only thing that leads to freedom. And every human being is looking for freedom, no matter what he may say, whether it's wealth or happiness or relationship or money or whatever it may be. At the end of the day, he's looking for freedom. So everyone already is looking for that. It's just that they don't know it.
Thanks, Dr. Gupta, for taking my question. My question is relating to the state of no mind, especially when one is involved in a high performance activity. Is the no mind a permanent state, or one can actually exercise or build upon it? And
yeah, one can actually access it. Okay. But you cannot ask me how you do it. That's
sure. I'm not. Yeah.
That's a systematic training, but yes, you actually can access it.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for doing this. Can truth help overcome the anxiety of public speaking? Thank you.
Well, you're treating truth like a screwdriver. I mean, the answer is yes, but it's kind of like using an airplane as a taxi cab. Truth does everything. There's the only thing in the world that works is the truth.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is, if you were in the shoes of these people here asking you questions, and you had this opportunity to ask you a question that maybe other people are not asking, what would you ask you?
That's a good question. And honestly, I would say this: a human being is subject to their own DNA. So they're not going to act or behave in a way that is beyond their DNA. And so whatever someone's DNA is, I don't mean genetic DNA, I mean the personality, how they think, how they're wired, what their sensibilities are. Whatever that is, it is. And so if the person had a rare DNA, which was non-societal and non-following and non-prescriptive and willing and longing for the truth and non-social, then in that sense, I would be viewing this as perhaps the only place they will find ever in which the raw truth is openly shared, with no attempt to convince, with no attempt to gain favor, with no attempt to satisfy, with no attempt to make happy, just straight raw truth. And I would attempt to learn not just the words that are being spoken, but why they are being said, having found the one place in which only the truth is spoken, because every other place in the society and the world, with the exception of perhaps 18,000 feet in the Himalayas somewhere in a cave, or the true master, not a fake one, everything is false. Everything is diluted, and everything is for the masses, and everything is superficial and cosmetic and how-to and nonsense. It doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. That's what I would be viewing it as if the sufficient level of DNA was there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Siddha. So my question is suffering or is struggle necessary to get what you want, or is that just a societal construct?
It usually happens to be present, and it's almost inevitable that it's going to be present because every human being lives in untruth. And where there is untruth, there must be suffering. If you are driving the wrong way down the freeway, there's going to be suffering. So because the untruth is present, suffering is bound to be present. The way in which you could misunderstand that is to believe that if I suffer and pay my penance of suffering, then I will get truth. And that is not the case.
Hi, are you a true master?
What was your best memory this weekend, and will you remember it in 10 years?
My question is, can the aversion from society become a path away from truth?
No.
Hey, Kapil.
Hello?
I have a question. So, is there a quality to truth? Let's say I uncovered something. Will that lead to me uncovering different things as days go by? Do you see what I'm asking you?
It's not about necessarily the content.
Mm-hmm.
It is it isn't content. It is the quality of the seeking.
So, basically, I would seek something and I'll get an answer, and it it's almost like I cannot do anything with it except for it's a realization.
My question is,
Hello?
hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So there are moments of clarity because the message of truth, the message of self resonates somewhere at a deeper level, but it's still at an understanding level. It has not reached an experiential level yet.
Of course.
So how feasible is it for someone to live a contented and full life without fully realizing truth?
It's not going to happen. That does not mean that one should chase truth to live a contented life, because that'll be a chase. That'll be done for an ulterior motive. But if you just think about the question yourself, if someone is not living in truth, then by definition, by default, they are living in falsehoods. And I would say that the greatest, probably in modern times, one of the greatest traps is spirituality. And you will have to mine yourself, look inside yourself to see, because there's an excellent chance that you have fallen for the trap of spirituality.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So, spirituality has become kind of a false addiction, and
Hello, doctor.
Hello?
Which one is which one comes first? Why am I, or what am I?
Well, nothing comes first for anything. It's an intellectual question. If there's something to be gained from something, it's to discover who one truly is, but more importantly, who one is not. I see many people sitting here. It's interesting that the people are sitting here. And it begs the question, why? What is it they're looking for?
Hello, doctor. Thanks a lot for the question that why I'm doing here. And because of that self-questioning, I came to the conclusion that I want to ask something. Is self-control, can self-control be achieved?
Well, you can force yourself into anything, yes, but it won't be truth.
Hi, Siddha. So he asked if
I don't. You broke up.
So the last speaker, he had asked if you can have self-control, but it can be but it will because it'd be forced. So isn't the inverse of that to be lazy and do nothing?
Well, you already are lazy and do nothing. If you force yourself to do stuff, that's being lazy and doing nothing. That's just doing something just for the sake of doing it. So every human being is out there chasing things. They're doing activities. They're doing stuff that's good for them. They're doing stuff that's healthy. They're doing stuff because they read in a book about morning routines. They're doing something because this is good for them and this is healthy for them and this food is better than that food. And whatever it is, that's all nothing. It's all prescriptive. And the evidence for that is to look at oneself and say, how have I really been changed? How have I really transformed? I've followed the rules. I've walked my 2.7 steps per minute and 10,000 steps per week, and I've done my mindfulness, and I've woken up at the proper time every day. And what has it done for you? You may be able to discuss with your friends about how many steps you walked and how many meditation programs you went to. It's all nonsense. It's all cosmetic hearsay. It's all showmanship. So that's one's own evidence that nothing transforms a human being, nothing that is prescriptive. So everything that you do is a complete waste of time. It doesn't mean that you should stop doing it. It is about the realization of that, not feeling ashamed about that.
Hi, Dr. Gupta.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so you speak of the notion of the self as being the greatest hindrance to freedom. Is that because I gets conflated with the mind as opposed to something deeper than that? Thank
I
you.
is mind. They're the same thing.
Well,
Hello?
how can I know that I'm searching for the truth and not just another prescription?
You'll know inside yourself. You'll know if you're doing a how-to or if you're genuinely looking for the truth. There's no meter outside.
Hi, thanks for giving me a chance to ask. My question is, as you get closer to understanding and you examine your life, you realize that almost all of relationships are started by need and maintained by lies. And after a point of time, you're no longer interested in continuing with those. So is it inevitable that once you are on this path, you'll start losing relationship and you'll not be able to maintain? Or is it a way that ultimately you'll be able to maintain and transform relationship based on truth?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's no compulsion to remain or to leave. The truth is that the truth isn't between two people. The truth is inside oneself. And if one finds truth inside themselves, then they can live in the relationship or they can live outside of one. And if they live in one, then they will naturally and organically be sort of devoted to truth in their immediate surroundings. Therefore, they will tend to create harmony without even wanting to, because they have found truth within themselves. I think that's the point to understand, is that it isn't truth between two people. It's truth within oneself. In fact, one could say that oneself is the entire relationship.
What are the ingredients that go into the sort of alchemy that allows money to move to you, and how do you ensure that you're staying out of the way of it arriving?
Yeah, that's too in depth of a question for this kind of forum. I mean, I've done several direct truth podcasts on money, and in fact, answering that exact question. And for me to just say X, it wouldn't do it justice for you. I would be giving a response just to give a response.
There's something that I feel I see, and I deal with this problem, but I don't know why I'm dealing with it, even though I see it. The problem is, I believe I am a lot better at helping others and not helping myself. Do you know where that stems from?
Yeah, people are always interested in helping others instead of helping themselves, because helping others is the cleverest way to help oneself, because they're doing it to make themselves feel good. And at the same time, they're getting to avoid their own problems by looking at other people's problems.
Kapil, why did you become a MD?
Hi, I have a question. So in your book, The Master Secret Whispers, in chapter Master, he had named you. So there's a dialogue between the student and the master, where the student asks him if he's hurt by by a comment another student made, and the master says no, and then he says, then he realized, then he's like, you know what? Okay, call upon the student. So when the student's name is, I think, Boga. Boga asks the master, why do you seek to apologize? And the master says, because for the briefest moments when I first heard the news, I thought that you should not have done what you did. This thought flashed across my mind for not more than a second, and this suggests that my mind has not been eradicated. Is this what you mean by when you, in your talk with Naval, when you said give the mind free rein, or any suppression leads to regression?
I don't know about the context in which I speak of things. I think that should be taken at face value, whatever it says in the book.
Hi, Kapil. In your book, Adam, you talk about um, high performance coming from not your body responding to goals or expectations, but to perceptions. How does someone enhance those perceptions?
You don't enhance it. It's about learning about perception training as opposed to trying to enhance the perceptions.
Hello, thank you for your time. When seeking truth from others in domains that one is really ignorant in, like they're totally new to it,
You're not going to get truth. You're not going to get truth from others ever.
Okay.
If you go into any domain, in every domain, there's like one person who knows the truth, and that's everyone else is just following what everyone else is doing, and it's that way in every domain. And the chances that you're going to find that one person are infinitesimally small. So at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you. And in all honesty, it isn't even going to be all up to you. It's going to be up to your DNA. What sort of DNA you have. A human may want to ask themselves, what am I really here for? Am I here for help? Am I here for a prescription? Am I here to pass the time? Am I here for intellectual? Am I here because I have nothing else to do? Am I here because I might listen to some interesting response that I can think about? Am I here so I can pick up some knowledge which I can go share at a cocktail party tomorrow night? One may want to ask themselves, and this is not a compulsion, it isn't a requirement. The person who does will, and the person who doesn't won't. One may want to ask themselves why they're here. What is the point of being here? What are you looking for? There's you. There's no one here that, I can only speak for myself, who hopes that you get it, or wants you to get somewhere, or has any 5-step plan. So in the pursuit, in the exploration of the question of why you're here, well, you may or you may not find something. And what you find through that self-questioning, maybe more than you get by asking me a question.
Thank you for your time again. So my question is, I want to ask you, what do you think about fate? And by fate, I mean the idea that, that we don't have control over things and surrendering. And personally, in my case, I've always thought that it's disempowering, and I've always struggled with an upbringing or a culture that kind of suggests that things are this way and we should just accept it and just live as that.
I mean, the honest truth is one does not know. There could be fate, there could not be fate. So to believe in something or to not believe in it, both are false, because either one knows or one doesn't. And if one doesn't, then they either have to set out to find out if they're interested, or they go along with whatever the greatest desire in them is to do.
Hi, Kapil.
Hello.
Hello. So, I felt before I was closer to truth, or I felt like I was in the right path for truth, and I've recently felt like I was not in the right path, or sorry, my English is not perfect. So if I've before felt closer to the truth and I've fallen distance from truth, was I wrong, in the wrong before, or is just a matter of perspective? I don't know if I said my question.
Everyone falls away from truth, and the reason that everyone falls away from truth is because they become the society, they become their friends, they become their associates, they become everyone around them. They listen to the words of society and the world because those are the only words that are out there, and those things will absolutely lead one away from the truth.
Oh.
My question is, sometimes I'm just working a lot and I'm thinking, what's the real point of life? Like, all I do is work. Like, I'm just breaking my back. Like, what am I doing this for? Like, am I really living life?
Life has no point, and whatever someone is really compelled to do, they will do. So if you're working, then that means that something about work that you are getting something from. So when the day comes, and if the day comes that you truly feel like there's no point, then you'll probably leave.
Hello, thank you for taking my question.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to ask how you work with money and wealth and finances. Thank you.
I don't know what you mean by how do I work with it. I don't know. What do you mean by that?
Do you engage in the game or the acquisition of money consciously?
I mean, money just comes. Money, whatever you need, whenever you need it, just comes.
Hi, I have a question. How to deal with regrets in life?
There's no dealing with anything.
I thank you for taking me, doctor. So my question is that there have been times. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So there have been times when I'm being honest with anyone or a person, but that is confused as me being having a problem of ego, or maybe me that I'm thinking that maybe I'm better than them. That's why I'm telling them something. So is it wrong to share truth with anyone,
No,
or
your problem is that you're caring what they think, and I'm not telling you that you shouldn't care, because that isn't a switch that you can turn on and off at this particular moment in your life. But I'm just telling you where the problem's coming from. Your problem is coming from because you give 2 cents about what they think about you, and you will always struggle so long as that is the case.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
I've been following your work for a couple of years. The first time I saw it, it was an outrage, and but soon something just began to speak to my heart, and now I just really appreciative. One of the work that you did that that really hit me is your work on dispassion, your talk on your writings and on dispassion. I want to ask you, after walking this journey of discovering and dispassion, I find myself still, despite the fact that I've come to a greater silence of the mind, I find myself still enjoying hearing people's opinions every now and then, running to books. What does it take for a man to come to a point that he will burn all his books?
Yeah, that's a good question. What it will take is when you come to the final realization on your own that those books have not changed you. Those books, you were reading the books before and you're reading them still, and you're the same person now as you were back then. And the coming to the realization that all the books that you read, I mean, forgive me for saying so, but except for mine, and I hate saying that because I don't want you to buy my books. No one needs to buy my books. But it is the fact that in my books I don't prescribe. Doesn't mean you should buy them or read them, but I don't. And every other book that you read in your life, from the spiritual books to the ancient texts, to the self-help books, to the motivational books, all books prescribe, every last one of them. And any book that prescribes to you, that tells you that you should do this, or you should think this way, or here's the 5-step plan, or whatever it may be, all that can do is keep you exactly where you are, because it'll put you on a chase to chase your tail by doing those prescriptions, and you'll end up right back where you started. So when you come to that realization the books themselves and the speakers themselves will automatically lose interest for you, because you will have seen in your heart that they're not doing anything for you.
Right. Thank you so much, Kapil.
Sure.
Hi. So, how do you define truth?
Truth is the genuine longing for truth.
Hello. Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
My question is there a connection between the self and sincerity?
I mean, it's a vague question. It doesn't really matter. Where there is sincerity, there is sincerity, and sincerity is true.
Hi, doctor. Thank you for taking my question. My question is similar to the one that I asked about a week ago, or in line with it. Is it impossible for someone with like a quote unquote chronic illness like OCD to reach freedom?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And so that would just be one self telling themselves an excuse, perhaps.
Yes, but it would also be an excuse to say that you should seek truth or freedom, because you shouldn't.
Correct. Okay.
You should or shouldn't do anything, right?
100%. Thank you so much for your time, doctor. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Hi. Is the truth a personal thing, or is it something that
There are some truths. I mean, there are some universal truths, and then there are truths that apply to each specific situation that a person experiences and encounters.
Got it.
Hi, Doctor. Thank you for letting me in to ask the question. So, in my pursuit of truth, what I've seen is sometimes you see yourself in reflection as you walk through the world, and for a brief second, you cannot recognize that it's your own reflection that you're seeing. So, that's just like a prelude to what my question is about, and my question is, what's your view on living with the truth or after the truth?
What do you mean by my view on living with the truth?
So, I mean, now like you have the life. I mean, you're alive, and there is time which is yet to be finished, right? So, how do you see? Like it's not really a purpose, right? Because post-truth, I think there is not really a purpose. So, what is living about? Does it?
I can't answer that. I can't answer that for someone. There is no purpose and there is no meaning. But there are things within a human being that compel him to do certain things. There are certain things that motivate him, or perhaps there are, to a specific human being, that perhaps drive him in a certain direction, motivate him towards a particular goal, whatever, towards a talent or a skill that they have, whatever it may be. So that thing exists within them, and that compels them and propels them towards something. And so long as that is there, then they are being compelled towards those things. And when they go towards those things, each one of those things that they go towards, even if it's a worldly skill or an art or a profession, whatever it is, each of those things has its own truth. There's a truth to every profession. There's a truth to every art. Everything has a truth. So the truth is not spiritual. It's 100% practical and utilitarian. In fact, it is the only practical thing. Spirituality is totally impractical.